The world spins. My consciousness fades. Jeez, I don't want to believe anything anymore. Ow! That hurt. Collective symptoms. When I opened my eyes, I was looking at an unfamiliar ceiling. I had been sleeping in bed. My head hurt. I checked it right away and felt a bump. Moreover, what a horrible dream. Becoming a man, that doesn't happen outside of nightmares. Just then, I sensed a person's presence right next to me. There were eyes staring this way. I rose with a start. The person standing there... Oh, it was Inabushi Kaiko. It wasn't there Yamagi, nor Maizumi, nor Uni. I jumped up in a panic. But Inabushi Kaiko looked even more panicked than I was. Maybe she'd been surprised when I suddenly jumped up, but her body shook so hard she fell from the chair she was sitting on. She looked at me with frightened eyes. She didn't look the least bit like a brutal murderer. Thanks to that, I relaxed and lowered my guard immediately. It seemed I had fallen into another dream. Fainting in a dream and then waking up in a dream, it was a strange feeling. I sighed deeply. I'm sorry for surprising you. Bowing slightly, Inabushi Kaiko shook her head. Somehow she gave off a rather docile impression. She was completely different from what I had imagined after reading the file. Of course, it was a dream after all. Inabushi Kaiko stood up and walked over to the desk. I feel like that was a little... I'm not sure if that was the game purposely doing oh, the camera will rise, so we'll say a few things and then she'll rise. Or maybe they just didn't do it at the same time, accidentally. I looked down the room. I had fainted in the bathroom and lost consciousness, it seemed. If they found someone that attached to the lower half of their body, I'm sure anyone else would faint too. Oh my god. Clinging to that small hope, I tried shifting my lower body. As I had thought, there was an incompatibility. It seemed I was still a man. It was a dream after all. I was having a dream where I was in Sphere. That was why it wasn't strange for Inabushi Kaiko to be here. If it was a dream, then I would just have to defy it. That way I would probably wake up. What's the bet that if we die here, we won't be able to switch back to our original body, obviously, because our body would die, our present body would die. So, remember how I mentioned how I think Uni is the person who pushed Satoru off? I have a feeling that Uni doesn't believe we're Cocoro for reasons, obviously, and is probably going to try to kill us thinking we're Satoru. And that's probably going to lead places. Just a theory, but it's that kind of... This is that kind of game / story where coming up with theories now and then is pretty important for expecting things and being surprised. It's just how I am. I always come up with theories when it comes to mysteries. Inabushi Kaiko turned to face me and hesitantly offered her hand. In it was a glass. It was full of water. For a moment I didn't know what she was doing. It seemed that she had brought some water for me. Even though I had noticed this, it took me a while to realize. I took it confused. Thank you. Inabushi only nodded. I didn't know if she had slipped poison into the water she had brought me, and I was a little hesitant. But in the end, I drank it. It was a dream, so it didn't matter if there were any poisons in it. It was a dream, so it didn't matter. I chugged it down in one gulp. Ugh. It seemed to be thirstier than I'd expected. The water was delicious. Inabushi quietly stared at me without breathing. She seemed to be looking at my complexion. When I called her, Inabushi shook her head. What? Inabushi looked around the room and picked up the notepad on top of the desk. She enthusiastically wrote something on it. Not long after, she hesitantly presented me with the notepad. I took it without questioning why. Quite understanding why. Not Inabushi. Hotori. Oh. Was what was written. Now that you mention it, you can't speak, can you? But Hotori? What's that about? Inabushi took back the notepad and this time ran the pen over it slightly rudely. My name is Suzukage Hotori. Suzukage Hotori. The girl nodded sharply, but I was sure I'd seen her name wrong. The girl, she's Inabushi Kaiko. Was she lying? If so, why? I observed the girl who had introduced herself as Hotori. The girl turned her eyes towards me. It didn't seem like she was lying. Then it occurred to me. The girl had DID, Dissociative Identity Disorder. Inside Inabushi Kaiko, there were multiple personalities. In other words, Suzukage Hotori was the separate personality of Inabushi Kaiko. Furthermore, it was possible that whenever she became Suzukaru Hotori, she suffered a temporary loss of speech. If aphasia was a mental problem, then Inabushi Kaiko being able to talk with while Suzukaru Hotori couldn't was very possible. Another possibility was that the main personality, Inabushi Kaiko, had become unable to talk for some reason. It's like, what do you call it? I've been watching an LP of someone play Yakuza 0, and there's a character in it who suffered so much mental problems in her life that she became blind. And so I can understand what this game's talking about. A lot of, like, the brain is a really, really connected thing to your body. In the meanwhile, I decided to go along with it. It didn't matter how many times I tried saying, "You are Inabushi Kaiko" to her, as the Hotori personality probably didn't even know her. It had been established that in the case of a person with multiple personalities, the different alters were not conscious of each other. No matter how one might try to explain it, it will probably be useless. I felt a little sorry for her. It was possible she was suffering in her own way, too. No, wait. This was something from inside my dream. It was not certain that the real Inabushi Kaiko had another personality named Suzukage Hotori within her. Yes, this is just a dream I'm having. It was only a dream, so it shouldn't be impossible for anything to happen. I understand, then. Suzukage Hotori-chan. I tried to talk as gently as possible. The girl blinked in surprise and answered my call. My name, how do you know it? Even if it was an absurd dream, it originated from the experiences and observations in my own brain's memory. In other words, even if they were unconscious, there were things I knew. There were things I had experienced in the past, even if I didn't remember them. Before uni, the uni that was at Sphere, that is, had called me Satori. Had I met a man named Satori in the past? I should know anyone called Satori well enough to see them in my dreams. Satori tilted her head. She probably didn't know. What to do? At a loss, I put a hand to my face, and a dull pain ran through my head as I touched the bump on the back of it. Ow! Hotori quickly picked up the bedside to pick up a wet towel. She gently placed it under my head. It was pleasantly cool, the pain receded. Thank you. Hotori nodded sharply, expressionless. Have you come too? I'm just gonna give a lot of the girls the same voice because I'm bad with girl voices. This time the brown-skinned woman entered the room. She saw me being nursed by Hotori and laughed gently. Earlier you suddenly let out a scream and fainted. I was surprised. And with your trousers undone. The woman's smile became strained for just a moment. I became aghast. Now that she mentions it, I had suddenly fainted in an extremely embarrassing position. No, the body itself isn't mine. I'm sorry. I apologized by reflex. I wonder, like, obviously you can't know these things because I don't think it's possible for people's minds to switch. That would involve a lot of supernatural power. But if a mind were to switch with another one, would the voice go with it? Because voices come from the body, not the mind. The mind is telling the body what to say, but the body is the one saying it. So, I wonder if they're hearing Kuriko's girl voice or the guy's man voice. And it's most likely the man voice, because obviously if he was speaking like a girl, they'd be able to tell and they'd question it. But I'm just curious, would that actually be possible? I doubt it, but I'm the kind of person who thinks about random stuff. The woman was wrapped in a kind of atmosphere that seemed to be able to forgive anything. Now that I thought about it, I still hadn't heard her name. You haven't told me your name yet, have you? The woman's expressions became a little tenser. I see. What does I see mean, I wonder? The woman changed back to her radiant attitude at once. She's probably going to think we have amnesia still, because she said that before. My name is Utsumi Kali. Nice to meet you. Kali. I was wondering if she was half Japanese after all. A name I had never heard before. Or people I didn't know appearing, even though it was my dream. You are? Huh? Can you tell me your name? I'm Fuyukawa Cocoro. As I expected. Huh? Oh boy. Tsumi bent down. Her eyes were fixed, looking straight at me. Calm down and listen, okay? What? You have DID. No, I don't! I don't have DID! Have you heard of it? Dissociative, I know what it is. I see, it's obvious to think that. You are Fuyukawa Kuriko-san and at the same time Yukidoh Satori-san. I said I know! In Interrupting Sami's words, I got up from the bed. I had DID? Yes, that might have been true, seeing as how even though I was a woman, I had a man's body. But something like that didn't matter. This was a dream, so having DID wasn't a big deal. It was probably because I was unconsciously thinking about Inabushi Kaiko. Now that I thought about it, before I got into the plane that crashed, I remembered being really nervous. The nervousness over interviewing a murderous monster such a rare and horrific killer had burnt itself into my brain, and thus I had a dream like this.
Satori, you're awake. Manly voice coming in. We got too many girls in this area. Josh needs to be able to spread his voice out. I'm here to rescue him.
This time it was Uni who entered the room. After seeing me, he called me Satori without hesitation. Yukidoh Satori. I was mistakenly called that even at the shelter cabin.
Hey.
Uni hesitantly looked at me. It was probably because I scared him earlier.
Are you okay?
I wanted to say the same thing right back at him. Uni didn't look so good, his face was awfully pale. I really want to know the date. That's just a random thing to point out, because we were told... I think we were told the day and the month, but for Satori's area, we were never told the year. Because Uni's here, but what if this is like in the future sometime? Because it's just impossible for Uni to be at the shelter cabin and here at the same time. So is this sometime in the future? But yet the date's the same, I think. I don't really know. So maybe it's like a year or two later? Because Uni's still looking for Cocoro, which means it's not in the past.
Satori, right?
I let out a sigh, explaining that I was Fuyukawa yet again was a bother. You wouldn't believe me anyway. I have DID after all. It was a dream, so who I was didn't matter. That's right, it seems that way. My head was throbbing again a little. Was this pain a dream too? Even though the feeling was so clear. Thinking that way, I got a little scared. This is really a dream, isn't it? My eyes met Hotori's. DID. There was the possibility that I really had DID. In that case, it would explain why I was at Sphere as if it were natural. It could also explain that attitude Itsumi and the rest had taken towards me. This dream, this institute, Inabushi and Itsumi, they're all too real. Were dreams this vivid impossible? Lucid dreams? Ooh. By the way, some of the text is blue. I don't really know why. But yet when that same set of words is repeated later on, it's not blue. So like for example, there was the term food something, as like food storage when they were in the cabin, and then that same word was mentioned as 2 sentences later and it wasn't blue. So I'm starting to wonder. Playtime turtle. Okay. Wait, what? That makes no sense. How does that make sense? Like, what? Okay. My head hurts. I'm confused again. For the sake of argument, if this is a dream, where's the real me right now? Maybe the plane accident wasn't a dream as well. No, I think that part is real. I certainly got into an airplane accident, and right now I should be sleeping in the shelter cabin on a snowy mountain. This newspaper, in reality, there's no explanation for it. Just what was that? You could also say, this is reality and the shelter cabin is a dream. It's possible to think that too. Is my real body a boy's? Which would mean I was a boy originally. Meaning that the personality of the woman called Fuyukawa Cocoro was born inside and only existed in the man named Yukidoh Satori. I'm sorry. Oh, who said that? I'm sorry. Let me be alone for a while. No matter how much I think, I can't understand any of this. I don't want to think about anything anymore. If this is a dream, I want to hurry and wake up. Staggering, I left the room. I left the wide central room. I exited into the kitchen. Thinking I could calm down on the sofa, I headed towards the inner living area. Kia! Hotori was standing right behind me. Even though I said I wanted to be alone, it seems she followed me. Hotori saw me jump back and tilted her neck. I wonder if she's doing it on purpose. I wonder if she's trying to make fun of me. Jeez, it's impossible to rest like this. Having no other option, I decided to explore the institution. Moving to and fro, I finished walking around without thinking about anything else. That being said, I had already gone over the inside of this institute once before. Now then, what should I do? I quickly looked around the room. The only places I hadn't been to now were the front entrance, and one of the 4 doors, the one in the corner of the living area. Check the door. Decided to check the leftmost door from the entrance. Hotori didn't follow me. My gait all slightly unsure, I walked in the direction of the living area. The light in the room was already on. The structure of the room looked exactly the same as the 2 rooms I'd seen earlier. I didn't feel anyone's presence, the inside was silent. Several articles of women's clothing had been left spread across the bed. They'd probably get wrinkled if they were left like that. It was a very private atmosphere somehow. In other words, the 4 rooms at the corners of the institute is for private use, which means that in this building there are at least 4 private rooms. In each room there's a single bed. The number of people in this institute can accommodate is 4, is what it means. The scale of the building itself is quite large, so it's surprising the number of people it accommodates is so few. Also, this institute doesn't seem to hold the presence of many people either. I haven't met anyone in Sphere besides those 3, the other people involved with Sphere, the doctors and nurses for example, where they were and what they were doing. Perhaps the extra people didn't appear because it was a dream. Or is there an unusual situation happening? I shook my head a little. I'm just going around in circles. I left the room. I saw Hotori standing in the middle of the living area. Not doing anything in particular, just standing still as if we were in a daze. Uni and Itsumi had returned to the kitchen. Did Itsumi bring in some tea? Uni looked like he was happy. Now then, what should I do? It seems that the rooms at the 4 corners are all identical. Therefore, there shouldn't be any need to check the one I haven't been to yet, as they're all the same. So I went to take a look at the front entrance. The door didn't have a knob or any sort of handle attached to it. It must be an automatic door, but a very peculiar one. It's made of some sort of metal, but that's about all I can make out of it. I wonder how thick it is. It seemed to be so sturdy that a shell shot from a tank would have little chance of taking it down. I stood in front of the door. What spread out in front of me when it opened was an image of hell in black and white. In the whirling plumes of snow, countless snowflakes were madly racing past each other. It was a terrible storm. Reflected in my eyes were only the countless white particles and darkness between them. It was already impossible to see anything more than a few meters away. My cheeks and neck felt as though they were being cut by countless shards of glass. It became impossible to breathe. The chilly air was so intense that I could feel my lungs and trachea choking on it as it made its way through them. I felt that if I stayed here for even 3 seconds more, I would surely die. Pretty sure that wasn't even an exaggeration. Panic-stricken, I turned and started back towards the building. It was nice and warm inside. This was the kind of warmth that a human could survive in. Phew. I breathed a sigh of relief. The thundering roar of the wind was so loud that it could be clearly heard even indoors. I hadn't noticed the sound of it until now, but that's probably because my mind had been preoccupied with other things. Anyway, I doubt anyone could be outside in this kind of weather. Except for the truly curious or adventurous. There's just no way anyone would venture out into the middle of the snowstorm. Itsumi and Uni were drinking tea while making idle chit-chatter. It would have been because my body had become chilled, but I really wanted something warm to drink. Besides that, I wonder how those two could be talking so calmly. This place is an institution to keep the mentally ill in isolation, after all. The two didn't seem to have any intention of stopping my aimless wandering. No, they might want to stop me, I can't be sure. Hotori, who would have been standing in the living area until now, is gone. As soon as I entered looking for her, she disappeared through one of the 4 doors. It was the only room I had been into. It might have been that the room belonged to Hotori. Since I didn't have anyone else to go, I thought I'd take a little peek. Casually, I followed after Hotori. Just as I expected, the room had the same layout as the other 3. The only thing different is that the room didn't have the feeling that it was being lived in. Also, the sheets of the bed were in disarray. There wasn't anything else. The top of the desk was bare, and there weren't any change of clothes to be found. In the first place, there wasn't any human warmth. Human warmth. Okay, I thought it said humid or human. Which, humid would make sense. A cold, dreary atmosphere enfolded the room. What is Hotori, Inurishi Kaiko, think about while living in the room with us. Hotori herself wasn't in the room, just where did she go? Just then a sound came from the bathroom. Wondering what it was, I peeked inside. Hotori was there, water was gushing from the sink as she standing to the mirror. Her entire body was shivering. Holding her head, she yanked and tore at her own hair. The sounds of Hotori's wild breathing resounded into the bathroom. Huh? Hotori-chan? I feel like it's going to go into this, but I'm a little curious. Is this story going to go into DID? And when I say that, I mean, are they going to go into the theory that people with DID are actually just personalities switching from different times? And that's why they have multiple personalities, but within 1 year, someone's personality is jumping back or forth to another person's in another year. And that's what I'm curious about, because it was Cocoro in 2011 has jumped to Satoru in whatever year this is, and Satoru is most likely, I'm expecting, is jumping back. And is this going to be like this game's theory on DID and how it works? That when you switch personalities, the other personality is not just gone and stayed quiet, it's actually jumped to another point. I'm curious if it's actually going to go into that. I'm sorry if that explanation didn't make sense. Honestly, it's very hard to explain of how I'm thinking this. But if you guys understood that, that's how I think this game's going to go. I think this game's going to go into thinking that DID is just actually personalities jumping back and forth. That's going to be interesting if it does that. Because that is a pretty good thought of how it could work. Like, yeah, that involves a lot of supernatural kind of things. But in the end, I'm a fantasy writer. I love writing fantasy, so this is definitely my level. Hotori-chan? Glancing at her face, I became speechless. The expression I saw was full of anguish. Her mouth was open as though in voiceless scream. Her eyes opened wide, she glared at the Hotori in the mirror. Hotori-chan, what's wrong? I put my hand on her shoulder and she shook it off violently. I lost my balance and bumped my head against the sink. The continuous dull pain at the back of my head became sharp as if I had been stabbed there. Don't jinx me. The water from the sink, which had been on the verge of overflowing before, was now spilling over. I was soaked. But now wasn't the time to be bothered by that. Hotori's long black hair had become disheveled as she violently shook her head. Is she deranged? It wouldn't be good if this continues. Hotori-chan, calm down. Hotori began to moan louder and louder. Her voice? It can't be. Was the Inabushi Kaiko personality awakening? If that's so, it'll be dangerous. I looked about my surroundings and searched for a means of escape. Before the murderous monster awakened, it might be better to run away. But... Hotori's voice slowly transformed into a scream. A ghastly shriek issued from my mouth. It's useless, I can't get free. Hotori-chan! Making an immediate decision, I gripped her in a chokehold. No! In my arms, Hotori's entire body struggled violently. Even so, in spite of all the strength she was exerting, she seemed quite frail. No, it's me who's become stronger. It's probably because my body is a man's. And then the strength abruptly left Hotori's body. Hotori-chan? I looked across to the mirror to see what was going on. It appeared that Hotori had lost consciousness. What's wrong? Possibly because she heard the commotion, Sumi came running, practically flying into the bathroom. While holding up Hotori in my arms, I explained the situation to Itsumi. I see, so that's what happened. While muttering that, Itsumi held out a hand. I'll help. Shall we carry her to the bed? Itsumi and I both carried Hotori to her bed and laid her down. You can go back now, Fuyukawa-san. Huh? I'll watch over her. You're tired as well, right? You can go to sleep now. Saying that, Itsumi took something out of her pocket. She presented it to me. There were pills sewn inside a silver-colored package. There were 2 white pills. Before you sleep, you should take these. You'll be able to sleep really well. That would mean that these were sleeping pills, wouldn't it? I took the pills from Itsumi. Please take care of the rest, then. Yes, good night. Yes, good night. I left the bed and went towards the door. Oh. Uni was standing beyond the door, which had been left open. Surely Uni must have gone curious as well and came to check the state of things. I wonder how long you've been standing there.
Hey, what happened?
No, it's nothing. I was tired and didn't have the energy to explain. Besides, I didn't want to give Uni anything to worry about unnecessarily. Well, what shall we go? I placed my hand on Uni's shoulder and urged him out of the room. Uni obediently followed. Hotori, who was stretched on the bed, appeared to turn over in her sleep as soon as the door shut. I returned to the door, which Azumi had told me was Yukido's-kun's room, and let her sigh. The floor plan of the bathroom was the same as Hotori's. Why did she suddenly become deranged? And then there was her voice. Hotori had let out a scream, even though she was supposed to have aphasia. Her vocal cords are still able to function, is what it means. That she doesn't normally speak is probably due to mental factors, I thought. Or it might be that Inabushi Kaiko had awakened. If that's the case, is it alright if she's not restrained? Isn't it dangerous? I feel insecure. I sighed deeply once again. Too many things are happening. In the shelter cabin, and in this dream sphere, I don't have time to calm down. Somehow I'm awfully tired. It may be better if I just get some rest, like Atsumi told me. I take out the pills that Sami hands it to me. I can easily just go back later and do these choices again, which I plan to do. After I get an ending, I'll go back to the start of the game. Unless the game turns into Doki Doki Literature Club, in which case it will make a new game where new things happen. But if, when I get an ending, it allows me to go to the start of the game, I'll just choose options that I never chose. So I think I'll take them. Decided to take them. Due to my nervousness, my mind was excited even though my body was tired. The way things are, I don't think I'll be able to sleep. I'm thinking that if I take them, it will keep my body asleep, so even if the Satori personality were to come back, he wouldn't be able to awake because my body would be forced to sleep. But if I don't take them, I feel like something would have happened because Satori would have awakened. And that would mean something might have happened when I woke up. So things would have been different because he would have done things. I'm thinking? I don't know. I walked to the refrigerator that was included with the room. I opened the door. There was a bottle of mineral water inside. A small 500ml PET bottle. There were 3 bottles all unopened. I took out one of them. Removed the cap from the bottle. Glass there. Glass there. Several glasses stood upside down in a row on top of the fridge. I picked one up and poured about a third of the water in. I twisted the cap back on and returned the bottles to its places. I removed the pills from the package. They were white and circular. Suddenly thought of something. It'd be fine if I take 2 at once, right? I'd forgotten to confirm how many I was supposed to take. When thinking of the phrase sleeping pills, I can't help the negative mental image I have of them. If I take the wrong amount, it'll be the last time I ever go to sleep, never to wake again. I stared at the pills, made up my mind, and popped them into my mouth, then washed them down with water. They didn't taste like anything. With the medicine package empty, I returned the glass of the water of the refrigerator, with a small amount of water remaining in it, and left it there. It's so cold. It got a little colder. Of course, my body was soaked to the skin. In order to try to calm myself down, I decided to take a bath. If I take a while to catch my breath, some break in my mental deadlock might appear. I persuaded myself with that. It might be carefree, but I wouldn't be able to hold myself together for much longer like this. After giving the bathtub a quick rinse, I begin to fill it with hot water. I sit on the edge of the bathtub and doze off staring at the surface of the water. Engulfed in a comfortable steam, I'm attacked by drowsiness. No, it's not simply on the level of drowsiness, I'm seriously sleepy. It feels like I should just fall asleep like this. It almost feels as if I was dizzy. The inside of my head became dull. My body was incredibly heavy. It was most likely the medicine taking effect. Shoot, I have to wake up. I suddenly heard sounds coming from the room. Maybe Uni had come to visit. Uni, is that you? I called into the other room. No response. I poked just my head out of the bathroom and inspected the state of the room. Nobody was there. There wasn't any human presence. Was it just my imagination? I tilted my head and returned my eyes to the bathroom. The water looks warm and full of vitality. However, I'm so sleepy. All I'm doing is standing here. And even from that, my feet are becoming unsteady. This is bad. This was going to happen. I should have bathed before I took the pills. Happened again. Again, I heard a sound. It might just be Uni playing a prank on me. Jeez, I'm already so tired. I left the bathroom, staggering. There wasn't anyone in the room after all. Maybe he's hiding. Uni, stop messing around and come out already. But there was no reply, and I didn't feel anyone's presence. How weird. Just to be certain, I looked anywhere that could be used as a hiding place. Looked in the closet as well. Still, Uni was nowhere to be found. Leaving the room, I even poked my head into the living room. There wasn't anyone in the living room, nor the kitchen. It seemed like everyone had returned to their rooms. The whole place was as silent as the grave. In that silence, I started to feel insecure. This entire institution didn't have very much human presence at all. Ah, the tub is going to overflow. I panicked and turned back. The hot water had already filled about 80% of the tub. I gently put my hand in to test the water. A little hot, but the heat felt nice. At the same time, the drowsiness increased even more. Hand continued to splash and stir the water in the bathtub. Wait a second, I'm a man right now. I became aware of a fatal error. There's no way I can get into a bath naked when my body's a man's. It's kind of wrong. Kind of wrong. I remember that scene from before and immediately recalled how cold it had been. And suddenly, the light in the room went out. What? It had happened so suddenly, and I was in a state of confusion trying to figure out what was going on. It was completely dark, and I couldn't see a thing. Just who?